This meeting was called to discuss T91 2022, which is an ordinance amending North Ridgeville Codified Ordinance Section 1650.04B as a result of recently passed state law concerning the discharge of fireworks. And I'd like to begin by asking the Safety Service Director to maybe provide us with some background information and a brief explanation of the legislation before us.
Well, in trying to find some happy medium ground between state law and the way the city of North Ridgeville's ordinances read. And many meetings of talking about fireworks and discussing whether they're even what we have on the books can be enforceable, and that is questionable by everyone. But it really takes it to, brings us and modernizes what we have today presently, and gives us some really some teeth in some of the days that we know that fireworks do go off. Gives the police department an opportunity to have a good chance of trying to impact those that are actually circumventing the ordinances that we have and actually circumventing what the state of Ohio authorizes to go forward with. So we certainly would like to have this move forward as quickly as possible. I'm so sorry that it's at a late moment, but in order for it to be in practice by July 1st, we would need to suspend second, introduce it, suspend second and third, and pass it by emergency for us to have this on the books. Mr. Law Director, am I correct on that?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. I guess we'll start then by asking council members if there's anybody who has any comments or questions at this time regarding the legislation.
Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. Akins.
I have to admit, I'm in favor of this going through the whole process. I'm not saying I'm falling on one side or the other of this particular ordinance or proposal, but it's going to affect not only this 4th of July, but all the others down the road. So I think we need to take our time to make sure that this is the proper way. Give the citizens, even though there's nobody here today, an opportunity to review it and put in their opinions and their concerns as well. And I understand that the apology has been made pertaining to its late submission, but this should have been submitted back in March. This is no surprise. So I for one, I think we should go through the whole process. Any meeting that's one was now the second and third reading, so an opportunity to put in their opinions. And we did have one citizen do that before this was introduced. And I know the gentleman somewhat, and his health probably keeps him from coming into our meetings. So there probably are more citizens out there who would like to voice their opinion.
Any other council members like to?
Yes, Mr. President. I have a couple of concerns on this legislation. I do also agree with Councilman that I would like to see 3 readings to give residents the opportunity to be heard. More than one resident that's come before council over the years. A couple of concerns I have are, one, the ability for all residents to do this on these specific dates, no matter what size lot their property is. In Ward 2 and in Ward 4, many people live on postage stamps. They have a house, they have a garage, not much yard, and that's about it. And there is the opportunity for problems to occur after the fireworks are off. by where the President Falls. On several occasions, I've been called over the years to go to residents' houses to see their neighbors shooting off fireworks and the debris landing on their roof, landing in their bushes, landing on their sheds, and they're frightened that there may be a fire. I think one of the gentlemen that spoke here had that same concern about that. I enjoy fireworks. I enjoy seeing them. The city puts them off in other locations. I think we believe it's professional. Dangerous. The Consumer Product Safety Commission has given some tips to those that are setting off fireworks. One of them is to set off fireworks outdoors in a clear area, away from houses, dry leaves, grass, and other flammable materials. Again, I'll say away from houses. In much of our city, that's impossible. Where do they set them off? In the street. Which again is not within the ordinance. That certainly is not in the spirit of the ordinance, but that's what will happen. The other issue that I have is safety. And again, the Consumer Protection Safety Commission. These are statistics from their information they received. From March through September of 2020, serious consumer fireworks injuries increased by 56%. 56% from March to September 2020. They say the increase is likely due to more consumers using these products at home due to the pandemic, rather than in community settings of professional fireworks handlers. I would suggest that making it legal for all residents to set off fireworks, that number would maintain or perhaps increase, because now you have more people setting off fireworks. Many people that have never done them before. Many people that may not know all the safety issues that you have to go through. Last year, again, according to the Consumer Product Safety Commission, this was done in 2021. Actually, the 2020 fireworks annual report. So it's completed in 2021. It says last year, an estimated 10,000 people were sent to the emergency room for treatment of firework-related injuries and 12 associated deaths. Nearly half of all fireworks injuries are to innocent bystanders, many of them children. Of the 10,000 fireworks-related injuries last year, 36% of those were the children under the age of 15, 3,600. I can attest personally, I was at a backyard fireworks display with my wife and friends, I'm going to say 8 years ago. And we were on a farm, so there was plenty of room. And people who were setting them off appeared to know what they were doing. And one of the canisters fell over and it hit my wife. Hit her there, she got burned. She was fine. But I can tell you, I was sitting next to her. No, I didn't get hit. That was a scary moment. And things like that can happen that are not, planned to happen. Again, with people not being professional at it. So I just have a concern that in many areas of our community, there's not the room to do it safely. And again, I enjoy fireworks and all the other person, but I think safety should be one of our concerns.
Is there any other comments from council members? I would just add that, I think our current ordinance banning fireworks it certainly doesn't stop people from shooting them off. I mean, anybody who's been in the city for any amount of time knows that it certainly happens with some regularity, particularly in the summer months. And, I think it's probably very difficult for the police department to enforce. More often than not, when a complaint's called in, people shooting off the fireworks either stop before or when the police arrive, making it difficult for the police to be able to cite somebody. You know, I think the state legislature probably recognized that as well, to a certain degree, and therefore decided to put this state law into place. I feel that the new rule would give law-abiding citizens a means to safely discharge fireworks within reasonable parameters. Is there anything else anybody else has to say, or anybody from the administration want to add anything? Mrs. Davis?
Mr. President, if we do not pass this by July 1st, then we'd like to read the July 4th if they shoot off fireworks violation, but probably won't be enforceable.
It's my understanding that our current, if we don't pass this evening, then our current ordinance banning fireworks will still be for the July 4th holiday. So correct?
So I think that's just the opposite. I think unless we pass this, then the new state law takes effect July 1st.
Oh.
And takes effect. I think that's one of the reasons that the administration wanted to get this out there.
Yes.
Can I ask Albert why the current ordinance would not be in place? Current ordinance prohibits one.
Well, the current ordinance, but the new law that's going into place, the general law, allows for cities to opt out. You have to make that affirmative motion to opt out. A lot of cities are either, say, we're reaffirming our prohibition, but they have to do something affirmative. They just can't not do anything. Sit back.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. David.
just to counteract what you stated, that even with the ban, people set off fireworks. So therefore, we should allow them because they're going to do it anyway. I have to admit, I've never thought much of that particular type of argument because we have laws on the books against speeding, drunk driving, so on and so forth, and folks still do it. And so if we ban it or we allow this, folks are still going to break it because my understanding is state law, it's supposed to be consumer fireworks only. You know darn well, there's folks out there who will have and obtain what I would class as professional fireworks and set them off, thinking that the law now allows them to do this. And so that's why I think we need to more carefully look at this, and possibly as say, put further restrictions, such as states where you can do it. Also reiterate that it's consumer fireworks only. And those type of provisions. And by discussing it, this is the only way we're going to find out and discover that maybe we need to put a few more restrictions in here. And by doing an emergency, because you know one thing, if it passes tonight, those restrictions will never make it onto the new ordinance. It's gone for a few years at least. We lose that opportunity.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. President, I'd like to add to what the councilman just said. I agree with what you're saying, and he was saying that let's do it right. I've been in this council chair a long time, and I can tell you over those years, to do it right is better to do it quick. And even though we did nothing this evening, according to the law director, the residents could shoot off fireworks on 4th of July weekend. I'd rather that happen. If we come back with that we make sure that the proper coverages are within the ordinance, if we decide to make any changes at all, but at least have a thorough understanding as much as we can from the community at large and from this body as to what the final legislation should look like. That would be, to my opinion, thank you.
We should probably also add too that the original ordinance, an amendment was being recommended, particularly with the timeframes with New Year's Eve celebrations. So we do have an amended version in front of you, which previously the law basically said that you had to stop by 11 p.m. But as we all know, due to the nature of New Year's Eve celebrations that typically last at least until midnight, if not a little while longer than that, it was recommended that perhaps on that particular day that an extended time frame be allowed. So that's the reason why there's an amended version. At this time, is there anybody from the public who would like to address council regarding this particular piece of legislation? I give your name and address to the resident.
Yeah, Jeff Madison, 6610 Nicole Drive. I have an in-ground pool, and I know some members of council do too. During the 4th of July season, I'm finding bottle rockets in my pool like constantly. And if that hits that vinyl liner hot, it's gonna burn a hole in the liner. So I'm not against fireworks, but I think if they're gonna have an ordinance, I think that there should be some kind of acreage required. You know, minimum of 1 to 2 acres or something like that, because like in a residential, you're concerned about landing on your roof, start your roof on fire. Well, there's people like us that have pools, or, you know, they could be destructive in other ways too. So I would recommend that if you're gonna allow it, at least have some type of acreage minimum involved.
Anybody else from the audience who would like to address council this evening regarding fireworks legislation? So it sounds like we have some suggestions here regarding lot size in particular and acknowledging consumer fireworks only. Is there any motion to be made at the current time?
Mr. President, I have a question actually.
Yes, Mrs. Swink.
So if they were to have lot sizes, what at the fingertips of the police have that they can go and cite somebody saying you're not on 1 acre or 2 acres? And
Right.
would that even be a possibility for the police to enforce that unless they hop on the county auditor's page? But I mean, granted, there's areas in Florida too that, you know, you're on postage stamp lots, it's obvious, but you know, say my house, for instance, my yard goes all the way back into the woods. How would the police know that I'm not on 1 acre?
Right.
I guess would be my biggest question.
I don't know the answer to that. I would assume they would not know unless they took some time to review county records. So if you,
And then could they ticket you after the fact?
right.
Well, I would think that, Mr. President, I would think at that point, the police could get the address, have the information, and then actually the next day or after the weekend was over with, find out whether they were properly setting off fireworks in an investigative type nature. I would hope that we all have the responsibility that there's not a very many 5 acre lots in the city of North Ridgeville. So that, or 3 acre lots, I mean, that I certainly couldn't set them off in my backyard, regardless whether I have, because I've got homeowners association property behind me, and it's all taken, and there's probably 100 yards from my house, and so my backyard neighbors. But I don't own that property, which I'm part of. So it would be difficult unless they had access to the, you know, county through the internet with their MVPs. I would doubt if it's 4th of July, they're going to get enough calls. If it's too restricted, that they're going to be just buried in fireworks calls all night long as to whether you have the right acreage. So I certainly can understand the safety of it, but we got to be practical in the process of how we're going to so that we can actually get at individuals that are really beyond from fire.
And my
And
second-
allowing the police, I'm sorry, allowing the police to do their job. Getting really bad perpetrators rather than somebody who's maybe, I don't even know if they have like fingers. I'm dating myself, how's that?
My second question would be, because I don't live in an HOA, so I don't know this answer. The HOAs put something into their bylaws that says you cannot light off fireworks in this development.
Speaking as a former, speaking as a former board member, it can, but it takes a charter amendment, which usually means 51% of the association. 51% of the residents. Yes, we got it, but I want to go through the process. Such as Ridgeville would be a very important process.
To speak out loud, I guess, right now, if we pass this tonight, fireworks will be going off on the 4th of July. If we don't pass this tonight, fireworks will be going off on the 4th of July. So it seems like there's enough concern about this to discuss it further. Doesn't really impact the 4th of July one bit, but we decide tonight either way. So we have opportunity, enough concern about the ordinance to discuss it further. That's seems like a reasonable course of action. Thank you.
Any other comments? Well, so that at this time, can we just table this then for further discussion?
I would think that adding it to the agenda and then still having all the readings. The opportunity to come.
Is it we need a motion to send the board?
Turn left on Avon Building Road.
It was my understanding that that would happen at the council. Goes to the committee. So, or back to council.
Mr. President, if needed further discussion, can we send that committee?
I believe so.
Sounds like we're not resolving. Do you have another meeting about it?
Well, it's in the city center. So, yeah, sorry. There was no second.
Okay, I'd like to move to send it.
Second.
The motion was made by Winkle and seconded by Bruce to have an additional committee of the whole meeting to further discuss the fireworks legislation. Clerk, please call the roll.
No,
Bruce? Yes. Stevens?
Yes.
Winkle? Yes. Hewitt?
Yes.
Reese?
Yes.
Jacobs?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-1.
Okay. So with that, I don't believe we have any further business before the committee this evening. So this meeting is adjourned.